Good morning Year 3 and welcome to Wednesday's maths video where we continue learning about maths. So today's we are learning to measure mass in grams. First we will go through the answers from yesterday's task. I asked you to look at the weighing scales and tell me the mass of the cake and the bread. The cake, the needle on the measuring scale is pointing to 2 and the scale is kilograms, so we know it's 2 kilograms. Slightly different scale on this measuring scale. The needle is pointing to 3 kilograms, so the mass of the bread is 3 kilograms. So we can see that the bread is heavier because it's 3 kilograms versus 2. How much heavier? Well, to do that we take 2 away from 3 and we're left with 1 kilogram heavier. And the total mass, add the 2 together, 2 plus 3 is 5. Second part of the task, again we're looking at the scales and we've got our balance scales as well. Partial A, we need to look at the numbers either side of the needle and we see it's 7 kilograms. Partial B, we add up this side because it's balanced, so partial B is 6 kilograms. And again, partial C is 2 kilograms because we have a nice balanced scale. And the heaviest, well, we can look to this list here. Sorry, the lightest, beg your pardon. We look at this list here. 2 is the smallest amount, the lightest amount, so that's partial C, and the heaviest is partial A. And then to compare them and put them in order of mass, beginning with the lightest, partial A is lightest at 2, B is 6 kilograms, partial A is 7 kilograms, so CBA is our order. And then I asked you to have a look at partial B and tell me how many times as heavy it was as partial C. So partial B is 6 kilograms, partial C is 2 kilograms, and I know that 3 times 2 is 6, so partial B is as heavy as 3 of partial C. Well done if you got that, because that was quite tricky to get your head round. And the challenge. How can we balance the scale? Well, so the challenge. Now this was a tricky one, but we already know that this partial is partial A, which weighs 7 kilograms. And we have another 1 kilogram here, so this side weighs 8 kilograms. We know that partial C is 2 kilograms, and we have 2 kilograms already on here, so we know this side weighs 4 kilograms. So we have 8 kilograms and 4 kilograms, and we want them to balance. So we would need to add 2 2-kilogram weights to this side, so that this side equals 8 and this side equals 8. So well done if you got that. That was a bit of a trickier one, but well done if you took the time to work that out. So on to today's learning. We are looking at grams. So we've already looked at mass. We were looking at 1 kilogram. And if you did manage to find something in the house that was a kilogram weight, a bag of sugar or a bag of flour, you would have an idea of how heavy this weight of 1 kilogram feels in your hand. When we're weighing lighter objects, such as a paperclip or a pencil, we wouldn't use kilogram weights, because if you were to hold a bag of sugar which weighs 1 kilogram with a mass of 1 kilogram in your hand and a paperclip, you can feel the difference. See if you can find something like a bag of flour, like a bag of sugar, put it in one hand and then find another object, a pencil, a pen, something small and light, and you will be able to feel there is a big difference. So we use a different scale. We measure lighter objects in grams. And we would say again, the mass of this paperclip is 1 gram. So this would be a much smaller weight than the 1 kilogram in size. And it feels different when you hold it in your hand as well. But it still balances the scale with the kilogram. Now, we write it as 1g, but we would never say it as 1g. Just like with the kilograms, we would say 1 gram. And we always say it as 1 gram, whether it's written as 1g or 1 gram. It's grams, 1 gram. Here we have the mass of the pencil, slightly bigger, and we have a 5 kilogram to balance the scale here. So we know because they're balanced that the pencil has a mass of 5 grams. And again, we would write it as 5g, but we always read it as 5 grams. So, today's task, oh sorry, we're not on to today's task yet. We've got a little bit more learning because we're looking at the balance scales with slightly different faces on them. It's really important when you get to grams that you pay close attention to the scale and to what each of these lines represent. On this scale, now you might not be able to see it particularly clearly on the video, however, if you go onto the home learning page, you can print off these slides or you can have a look at them perhaps on your tablet and zoom in, and you will see on this scale here, up to 100 grams, we've got 10 little dividers, little lines. Now, we know that 100 divided by 10 is 10. So each of these lines represents 10 grams. On this scale, we look and this first bigger line here is 200 grams, but we still have 10 lines. It's split equally into 10 little divisions. So if we divide 200 by 10, that tells us that each of these markers is 20 grams. It's really important that you pay attention to that when you're weighing an item, when you're measuring the mass of an item. If we look, we've got the same pencil case on each of the scales, the measuring scales. However, the face of these is different. They have different units of measurement, both in grams, but this one has smaller measurements of 10 grams and this one has smaller measurements of 20 grams. So have a think. What does the pencil case, what's the mass of the pencil case? The pencil case is the same. The measuring scales are different, but it weighs 220 grams on both. So if we count on from 200, where we know that each of these lines is 10 grams, 210, 200, 210, 220. If we count on from 200 here, where we know that each of these lines is 20 grams, we count 200, 220. So it's really important that you pay attention to this when you do the task for today, because there are some measuring scales that have different scales on them. You will be able to see this easier on the screen and if you print it off. So what I want you to do is to look at the scales, read the scales, and write down the mass of the object underneath. And then we obviously have our balance scales as well. And you will need to add up the total of the marked weights on the other side to work that out. That's part 1. And then part 2, just so that you really get used to paying attention to what each of these little markers means on the scale, I would like you to fill in the blanks, work out what the arrow is pointing to. I've already done one there for you to help you work it out. And then a couple of problems. The mass of the apple is 22 grams. So what can you do to balance these scales? Because you can see that they are not balanced. This is either heavier or lighter than this side. I'm not going to tell you. And again, these scales are not balanced, which means that one side is heavier than the other. I'm telling you that the mass of the pear is 12 grams. So what could you do to either, maybe there's more than one way of doing it, to balance those scales? So you've got those tasks to complete and I will go through the answers with you tomorrow. Good luck.